Hey guys, thanks for joining me. In today's video, I'm gonna be doing a video on pull-ups and how you can do more. This is gonna be a follow-on video for any of you that haven't seen it, where I've done a push-up video on how to do more push-ups as well. This is gonna be a similar video on helping you guys to increase the number of pull-ups that you can do. And obviously, this video is gonna be broken down into different parts. So depending on what your strength level is, what your experience is, how much experience you've got with pull-ups in general, this is gonna be different on how you achieve this goal. For you guys who may not be able to do any pull-ups, someone can do a few and someone who can do many. It's going to come from different angles. So what I'm going to do is down below, there will be time links to different people. You could say a beginner, an intermediate to more advanced. So if you guys want to skip to the bit that applies to you, you're more than welcome to do that. But I do recommend watching the full video for entirety, because there might be something that you haven't done before or something you didn't know that you can apply into your training, whether it's pull-ups, push-ups, whatever it is. You can use that to help you with your training. And sometimes it's good just to actually take a step back and sort of repeat and build a good foundation before building upon that. I will leave a link to the push-up version of this video at the end of this video. So let's jump straight into the video. So what I'm going to be doing is talking about how you can increase your pull-ups if you're someone that can't do any, or you're doing between sort of 0 and 5 pull-ups. So even if you can do 5 pull-ups, it can feel difficult to be able to push past that. And sometimes actually is quite a beneficial thing to do, is to take a step back and maybe build a bit of a different foundation. Because some people, depending on how you initially started doing your pull-ups, you might have skipped some steps, you might have had a few weaknesses or imbalances that are making it difficult for you to progress further. So what we're going to do is, from here, is we need to pick an easier pull-up variation, and then we need to build up from them step by step. So what we're going to be doing is doing these sort of progressions depending on what your strength and skill level is. We're going to be picking a regression that allows you to be able to do a full range of motion. We're going to be looking at doing a progression where we can do 3 sets of 10 reps on each one, and we're going to repeat that process until we can slowly build up until possibly we can do the full pull-up. If you're someone that can't even do a full pull-up, or maybe you're someone that doesn't have a good enough strength or endurance to be able to do more than 5. I have done a video on how you can do your first pull-up, or the best pull-up progression for beginners. I will leave a link to that at the end of this video, or it will be down below. So if you want a more thorough, in-depth video than what I'm going to go in here, so this video isn't too long, then I do recommend checking that video out after, if you want a little bit more detail on how you can build up to it. But the idea of it is that we're going to do pull-up variations, and we're going to pick a progression that allows us to do it. One of the ways of doing that is to either use the inverted row and change the angle of our body, to moving into actually easier pull-up progressions where you could be doing something like a jackknife pull-up, to doing resistance band pull-ups, or even doing pull-up eccentrics or negatives to help build up that strength. And I'm going to be working, like I said, finding a progression that we can maybe do 5 or so reps with maybe, and we're going to stick at that until we can do 3 sets of 10. Once we're able to do that, we're going to move to the next progression and slowly build up until we've built a really good base level where the pull-up is very, very familiar with us, we're strong at it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do sets where we can see how many pull-ups we can do in a set. And if we're still finding it difficult to be able to complete a good number of them, we will then do some back off sets where we will then pick easier variations that we did before to build up that volume, to build up the consistency. So for instance, if you're able to build up and do a few pull-ups and you're able to do maybe 3 or 4 or 5, we'll keep doing them. We'll do, say, maybe 3 sets of them, and then we'll do some back off regression work where we may do some jackknife pull-ups or some eccentrics, or maybe some banded ones, so we can still get enough volume to build up that strength, to build up the efficiency, to build up the movement pattern, and maybe even take a little bit more of a further step back where we start doing some inverted row work to build up some more strength, to build up some more muscular endurance in those pulling muscles, in the biceps, in the forearms, in the grip, everywhere, so we can build up a good foundation that's going to allow us to get to that 5 and then push on to what the next progression is going to be. How often are we going to be doing this? Well, anything between 2 and 4 times a week, but it all depends on what your recovery is. If you're someone that can recover quite quickly and you feel like you don't have any DOMs, you feel like you've still got the strength to be able to do it more often, then do it more often. The more often we do something, the faster we're going to be able to progress with that. But you don't want to jump in feeling like you want to do a workout and you jump up on the bar and it feels heavy and it feels difficult. Take an extra day's rest. There is no thing. So depending on what your recovery is, and that's going to depend on you, your body, your lifestyle and everything like that, that's going to determine how often you can work out. But just work out when you're able to. So what we're going to do then, that gives you an overall base level with this. So you can't do a pull-up, or maybe you're doing low level pull-ups. The reason why you might not be able to do that many pull-ups is you haven't got a good enough foundation in some of the supporting muscles, or a good enough muscular endurance, or even the ability to be able to do enough volume. Because if you're constantly doing pull-ups and you can't do more than 2 or 3 and just stopping there, you're not doing enough volume, enough work, force your body to be able to increase those numbers. So once we build up that level, we can then move on to the next section, which is someone who is in between or maybe has come from there and wants to build up, because you can use this video to help you guys build up through the reps from doing 0 up to say 15 plus. You can go through these progressions if you're someone who's a complete beginner, but if you're coming in it from someone who can now do maybe between 5 and 15 pull-ups, which 15 pull-ups is a very, very good number. What we need to be doing is we need to increase the amount of volume that we're doing. So we want to be doing more and more pull-ups, but we can also do a little bit more supplementary work, like I said here, where if we're able to do a good amount of, say, 3 sets of 10 pull-ups or something like that, and we want to increase that number, we can easily keep doing that amount of pull-ups, and then we can add in some easier pull-up variations to make sure that we're getting enough volume. If we're finding that too much pull-up volume is difficult to recover from, or we're getting DOMs, or it's something that we're struggling, but we still want to do a bit of extra work, adding in maybe some inverted row work could be really beneficial to that. But the overall goal here is we want to increase the amount of volume, and one way in which we could do that is by doing grease to groove. Grease to groove, if you're not familiar with it, is where you do something like 50% of what your 1 rep max is, and you repeat those processes maybe throughout a day, or maybe during a time period, maybe 2, 4, 5, or 6 hours, something like that. You can pick it, but a common one is to do multiple reps throughout the day. The idea is to do 50% of your 1 rep max, so you never burn yourself out. It kind of creates that sort of battle ready sense where you only go up, you feel strong, you feel athletic, you go to the point where you hit a certain rep count and you stop way before you start feeling the burn, before it starts feeling like it's fatiguing, before you start feeling like your form's breaking down. Way before that, you will then repeat that process multiple times a day, and in some cases you will do it every day until maybe you feel like you need a day off. The way in which this works is it allows you to dramatically increase the amount of reps you're doing, but because you're doing it in a fresh state and you'll never go into fatigue, it allows you to get very, very efficient with the form. And part of strength and part of being good at something is doing it over and over again and doing it with good form. So grease to groove allows you to be able to do that, and if you're doing something throughout the day, it becomes sort of second nature to you. If you're doing something more often, you're going to get very, very efficient at it. So part of the reason why this was done is to make soldiers battle ready and to increase their numbers. So for any of you that are looking to get into the forces, or maybe the police, or anything where there's a set bar on how many reps you need to do, or a number that you need to consistently keep, this is a great way of doing that. And it allows you to be able to do it without ever doing a full workout and hitting it hard where you feel like you have done a full workout, or a DOMS, or it's something you can add in for a day if you have another form of training that you prioritize. Another thing that you could do by allows you to do more volume is by setting a sort of a goal rep. So for instance, if you're say between this number and you set yourself a goal of maybe 25, 50, 100 pull-ups in a day, you might find, okay, I want to do that number every single workout or every single day, or whenever you do a back focused or a pull-up workout. You might set a rep goal, what you want to aim for. That allows you to be able to get in a certain amount of volume. So if you're normally doing say 3 sets of 10 or 3 sets of 8, let's say between 24 and 30 reps, and suddenly you're now doing 50, 60, 75 reps, it's a huge increase in the amount of volume that you're doing. You can break it up however you want, but you set a rep count of how many you want to do. That increase in volume is going to drive your body to be able to get more efficient, to increase its muscular endurance, and probably and ideally increase the amount of muscle that you have. So by doing that, it allows you to increase the volume and then get stronger. But what your goal will then be is how many sets is it going to take me to do it? So you can start making it progressive by saying, if I want to get 50 reps and I'm coming in from doing 5 sets of 10, am I able to do it in less sets than 5? Am I able to increase those numbers? And maybe I can then do sets of 12 or sets of 13, sets of 14, sets of 15, and slowly your goal is to add in more reps per set. So the amount of overall sets you need to do to hit that rep count starts coming down. So then the overall number that you can do in a normal set will increase. I do recommend not always going to fatigue on those sets. If you want to do it on your last one, fine, but you might find that you can actually keep a nice even number or increase or have a good high level of reps throughout the whole entirety of the sets if you limit how often you go to failure, because obviously the subsequent sets, once you hit failure and you keep doing that, will start dramatically dropping down, where if you sort of maybe go 1, 2, maybe 3 reps away from failure, you might be able to keep that higher level of reps for a little bit longer. But that'll be your goal, is a certain goal, and then once you say get it down to so many sets, you might say, okay, what now I'm going to do is increase the overall number of what I want to go for. So maybe it's from 25 to 50, maybe it's 50 to 75, maybe 75 to 100, and then you repeat that process, and that's going to allow you to dramatically increase the numbers that you're doing. Again, how often are we going to be doing this? 2 to 4 times a week. All depends on your recovery. How quickly can you recover? How much volume are you doing in a specific day? So for instance, if you're setting a rep count of 50 a day, that 50 is going to be a lot easier to recover from than if you're doing a rep goal of 100 a day. So depending on what your rep goal is, what your recovery is, how much volume, how intensity, how hard it is for you, will determine how often you do it. If you still feel achy and tired, maybe try a few warm-up sets, a little bit of movement might ease it up. But if you feel weak, if the pull-ups feel difficult, give it another day of rest. You're only likely to regress if you keep working out when you haven't fully recovered, and you're actually going to make it harder for you to recover for the next workout. So it could actually slow down your process. So just work out when you're ready and basically go as often as you can. If 2 times a week is still really, really good. So that's what we're going to be doing if we're working between the 5 and the 15 reps. So now we're going to be moving into, if you're someone that's doing 15 plus, 15, 20, a big goal for a lot of people is to do a 20 rep set. Anyone that's doing over 15 reps, regardless of what other people say, that is a really good number. Anyone who can do more than 10, 12, 15 reps, obviously depending on what your body weight is, it's still a really, really respectable goal. But people doing 15, 20 plus reps in a set, and I'm talking full dead hang, proper pull-ups, pause at the top, pause at the bottom, you know, even chest to bar, things like this. It's a really impressive feat of strength. Not those people that are doing half reps and are just bouncing, getting their chin over. I'm talking full deep reps. That is a really good testament of your strength and your muscular endurance for your back muscles. It's a really, really good thing to go for. So there's not many people that will be working around here, but once you are, like I said in the push-up video, is what do you want now from your training? Because as we start pushing past sort of 12, 15, 20 reps, we are primarily going to be making advances in our muscular endurance, or how many we can do. And that's going to be the primary thing that we're going to be focused on. Yes, you will develop some muscle. Yes, you might develop a little bit of strength if you're increasing the numbers you can do, but you have to think, okay, once I get to this one, do I just want to increase how many reps I can do in a workout, how many I can do in a certain period of time? Do I still want to increase how many reps I can do in a given set? What is your goal when you get to this point? Okay, so depending on what that is, will determine where we're going to go for this. So if you just want to go, right, I want to start making it a little bit more challenging. I've got to the point where now pull-ups aren't easy, but I can bang them out pretty much for fun, and I want to find a way in which to make them more challenging or build muscle or get stronger. Your goal would then be, okay, you need to pick a harder variation. So you could move into something like close grip, you could move into archer, but something very, very simple as moving your pull-ups into rings will be a really, really challenging thing, because the rings are not stable, or even those angle 90, those orange grips that you see me use, that takes away the stability. It adds in that rotational ability that makes the pull-up in general harder, and it kind of turns it into a pull-up sort of chin-up variation, and that rotation makes it a bit more difficult. The lack of stability, it makes it a harder exercise. So you could be moving into something like that. You could start pushing into weighted pull-ups. This is going to be good for turning it a little bit more intense, allowing you to increase your strength if you want to, increase how much muscle you have, but also if you got into doing weighted pull-ups and you start getting to a point where you're able to follow this progression by, say, maybe adding 10, 15, 20 kilos, and you start working yourself up to here, imagine how good you're going to be at normal pull-ups. Once you take that weight off, your overall numbers of what you can do in a given set is obviously going to increase as well, because now you've got your body used to lifting a heavier weight. So then your muscular endurance, if that's another goal that you want to aim for, that is actually increased by doing something like weighted pull-ups, because you're just making your body weight, it's too easy now. It has a heavier weight, and now your body is used to lifting a heavier weight. And then once you take it off, your numbers are obviously going to go up. So it's another way of increasing muscle, increasing strength, also increasing your muscle endurance. So weighted pull-ups are a really good variation. So if you're someone that really just wants to increase the numbers that they can do, whether it's in a set, whether it's how much you can get in a minute time, whether it's an hour in a workout, how many pull-ups you can do, the main driver for you is you need to increase the amount of volume that you're doing. So if you're someone that can do 3 sets of 20, maybe increasing it to doing 5 sets of 20, 10 sets of 20. So something like grease to groove could come into real handy. If you're someone that can do sets of 20, doing multiple sets of 10 throughout the day, maybe if you just broke it down and you were doing 10 sets every single day, that's going to be 100 reps every day. If you're able to do that every single day, but you break them up for a day so it's not fatiguing you, your numbers are going to quickly are going to go up. Okay, so if you're used to doing sets of 20 and that's a maximum set for you, you might then go up to 20, 22, 23, 24, 25. That is really a big increase. So if greasing the groove is a great way of increasing the overall volume without you hitting fatigue, and it allows you to be able to do it more often, and sometimes even every day, which again is going to make you more efficient at the pull-up. Another thing that you can do is actually just having days where you might go to 3 to 5 sets of failure, and it's all about just going to that fatigue and really pushing the body, because once we start getting into this realm of endurance, our main goal is to hit it really hard, limit the amount of rest that we're having, something like 30 to 60 seconds, and then you're going again and you're going again and you're going to failure each time, because what you're trying to do is really exhaust those fuels that you have in your body, your muscles, glycogen, the ATP, CP, all of these different things that are going in to fuel your muscles to be able to do it. We need to constantly be hitting them hard, forcing the body to become more efficient and to increase the amount of fuel that we have. So sometimes having a limited rest and going to failure is a great way of driving that. But ideally, the main goal is going to be whatever you do is driving up that volume and increasing it, whether you do it that way or whether you do it grease to groove. So how often should you be doing this? Well, if you're doing stuff that is endurance related, you want to be doing it more often than you will when you're over here, because some of the things around here might be a little bit more of a strength exercise for you. It might be something a little bit more in that muscle building thing. So sometimes too much volume can really hit you hard and can be difficult to recover from. But when we're in the endurance zone, we can do things a little bit more often. We can have the shorter rest periods, we can train more often, because that's going to be the main adaptations we're taking. We need to keep hitting it. So sometimes you can go up to 4, maybe 5 times, or even if you're doing grease to groove, you could be doing this every single day. So the overall thing is how do we drive more volume into the workout and start pushing it harder? So guys, I hope you found this video useful. Like I said, this is a different way in which you can increase your number of pull-ups that you can do. I hope if you haven't watched this all the way through that you have learned a different way of doing this. The idea of this was the overall question itself is obviously quite vague, because obviously, yes, you obviously want to increase your numbers, but it's going to be different from where you're coming from, whether you're someone that can do none, for someone that can do a few, to whoever can do many. How you approach this is going to be different. So I'm hoping this allows you to have a good idea of how to increase that, determining where you're from. Obviously, if you skipped different points, I hope you found the information useful. But like I said, I may be doing more videos on this, maybe one on dips, maybe one on maybe handstand push-ups, something like that. But hopefully this gives you guys a good idea of what to go for. So if you found this video useful, please give it a like. It does help the video, and you want more content like this, make sure that you subscribe, hit that bell icon so you get notified of any other videos that I upload. Make sure you comment down below if you have any questions. And without the way, guys, I'll see you in the next video.